One of Donkey Kong Bonanza's core mechanics is the use of transformations, which each enhance Donkey Kong's abilities in unique ways and often introduce entirely new ones. There are 5 different transformations in total: Kong Bonanza, Zebra Bonanza, Ostrich Bonanza, Elephant Bonanza, and Snake Bonanza. Today I'll be ranking all 5 transformations from worst to best, while placing them on a tier list as we go. If you enjoy content like this, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel because I'll definitely be making more ranking videos just like this one. But before we jump in, I need to clarify 2 quick things. First, this video will include spoilers for both the post-game content and the final boss, so if you haven't finished the game, you've been warned. Second, everything in this video is just my personal opinion. There's no objective correct ranking here, and you might disagree with some of my picks, and that's totally okay. Now, just because Zebra Bonanza is in last place doesn't mean it's a bad transformation. In fact, I would argue that all of the transformations in this game are at least good to some degree. That said, this one is definitely my least favorite, mostly because of how situational and awkward it feels during actual gameplay. Zebra Bonanza boosts Donkey Kong's speed by a massive amount, which can be useful for quickly reaching certain locations, especially when using the charge dash. When it works, it's satisfying to blaze through areas at lightning speed. However, more often than not, it feels difficult to control. For instance, during specific platforming segments where the space is just tight, it's incredibly easy to overshoot or fall off platforms. That's because once you activate the charge dash, you are locked into that movement until it fully cools down. And that lack of control really hurts the precision of the game sometimes. In my own playthrough, I did find myself rarely using this transformation by choice outside of areas where the game forces you to use it, usually in specific platforming zones. I never felt compelled to switch to it. Meanwhile, the other transformations all had moments where I would actively use them even when I didn't need to. One highlight though is the rehearsal challenge course in the post-game content, which actually utilizes Zebra Bonanza to its full potential. That section is one of the most creative and challenging parts of the entire game, and Zebra Bonanza absolutely shines there. It's just unfortunate that its usefulness doesn't carry over much into the main campaign. B tier. Coming in at number 4, we have Snake Bonanza. I went back and forth between this one and the number 3 spot because, in my opinion, they are pretty close in overall usefulness. With Snake Bonanza, Donkey Kong gains a set of very interesting abilities and useful ones. You can jump significantly higher, perform a mid-air double jump, and even slow down time for a brief period. The double jump alone is incredibly helpful for both platforming and recovering from near misses. The time slowing mechanic adds a cool layer of strategy of slowing down certain obstacles that are moving really fast. Now, I know some players don't like this transformation. I've seen it compared to Spring Mario from Super Mario Galaxy, which has notoriously awkward jumping mechanics, but honestly, I don't think that comparison is fair. With Spring Mario, you had to time your jumps perfectly as you hit the ground, which made it feel clunky. With Snake Bonanza, you have full control over when to jump, and that freedom makes a big difference. But for the time slowing ability, it is cool and interesting, but it's not utilized as well as it could have been in the main campaign. There are only a few moments where slowing time feels essential. Again, the post-game level challenge course around that mechanic has its uses. One of the coolest uses for this transformation is combining it with the ostrich bonanza. You can jump super high with snake bonanza and then immediately switch to ostrich to glide through the air using that extra height. It feels incredibly smooth and opens up tons of movement options that wouldn't be possible otherwise. Overall, Snake Bonanza is a strong mobility tool, but like Zebra Bonanza, I wish the slowing down time was more integrated into the main campaign. Still, it's definitely one of the more fun ones to mess around with, especially in the post-game challenges. A tier. In third place, we've got Ostrich Bonanza. As I mentioned earlier, I think this transformation and Snake Bonanza are pretty equal in terms of how much they enhance movement. They even work better together because of that combo I just mentioned. But I'm putting Ostrich slightly higher on the list because you get access to it earlier in the game, which gives it more opportunities to shine. The main ability here is to fly. Donkey Kong gains the power to fly and glide through the air, which sounds simple but is extremely useful in a game like this. There are many areas filled with hazards like lava or poison, and being able to soar over them safely is a huge advantage. You'll also notice a lot of wind boosts throughout various levels that are designed specifically for the Ostrich Bonanza, letting you reach otherwise unreachable places and even skip entire chunks of levels. This transformation is also just great for speedrunning. For example, you can skip the freezer layer at the divide and even the racing layer. It's just a really effective way to cut down traversal time and add a bit of freedom to how you approach the layers. Ostrich Bonanza also becomes significantly better once you upgrade it through the skill tree. Without the gliding enhancement, your flight range is pretty bad, and it can feel underwhelming a bit early on in the game. Also, the egg bombs are just not great, easily the weakest ability of the bunch. They're just not useful, clearly. Still, the strengths of this transformation far outweigh that one weak point. Overall, Ostrich Bonanza is a great transformation for players who enjoy the freedom of movement and creative exploration. A tier. At number 2, we have Kong Bonanza, the very first transformation you unlock in the game. And despite being the starter, it remains one of the most consistently useful throughout your entire playthrough. This transformation allows Donkey Kong to smash through breakable rocks and enemies that can't be taken down in his normal form. That mechanic alone is needed all the way through the game. From the very first area to the final boss, there are moments where Kong Bonanza is required for progression, and that persistent relevance gives it a ton of value. It also comes with a powerful charge attack, which deals heavy damage and can knock back larger objects like the massive cannonballs you encounter later in the game. This move becomes especially important during the final boss fight, where using it to deflect attacks is almost essential. Though, fun fact, it is possible to beat the final boss without using any Bonanza transformations at all. I actually did that in another video, which you can find linked in the description or at the end of this video. The charge ability is just way more impactful than the egg bombs, the speed boost from Zebra, or the time slowing from Snake. And in boss fights, this transformation really shines. There's just something incredibly satisfying about unleashing a bunch of punches and watching a boss go down in seconds, especially the earlier ones. It makes combat feel more dynamic, more intense, and more rewarding in a sense. Overall, Kong Bananza is an all-around powerhouse. It improves combat, adds depth to the environmental puzzles, and makes Donkey Kong feel like an unstoppable force. S tier. And finally, in the number 1 spot, we have the absolute beast, and that is Elephant Bananza. This transformation completely caught me off guard with how versatile and overpowered it is. It doesn't just expand on the core gameplay mechanics, it redefines them in the best way possible. While Kong Bananza focuses on raw destruction through force, Elephant Bananza introduces a new method of clearing obstacles by allowing Donkey Kong to suck up various materials. This might not sound like much at first, but it really does change everything. You could suck up elements that punching will normally damage you, like the lava, for example, which opens up a whole new range of options for puzzle solving, exploration, and even the combat. What makes this transformation even more valuable is the trunk's ability to store multiple chunks. Normally, Donkey Kong can only carry one item at a time, but with Elephant Bananza, you can stockpile extra chunks for use in the upcoming puzzles or to prepare for certain combat scenarios. These chunks also allow for an advanced technique known as the chunk jump, which gives you an additional mid-air boost, basically functioning as a double jump. That alone makes a massive difference in platforming. In boss fights, Elephant Bananza is incredible. Alongside Kong Bananza, it plays a crucial role in the final boss, and honestly, it makes that whole sequence feel more strategic and exciting when you have to clear the paths, throw a bunch of chunks at King K. Rool. It's just all incredibly well done. This transformation isn't just good, it's pretty essential. You actually cannot beat this game without this Bananza. I'm not even joking. It takes the game's core mechanic and evolves them into something even more fun, creative, and flexible. Without a doubt, this is my favorite transformation in the game. S tier. That's going to wrap it up for today's video. If you enjoyed the ranking, be sure to like and subscribe. Also, I would love to hear from you, so drop a comment of your ranking. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.